When Insomniac announced Spider-Man 2 back in 2021, fans knew they were in for something special. The trailer promised bigger stakes, darker villains, and the dream team of Peter Parker and Miles Morales fighting side by side. But the question is, did the game live up to the hype? Today, we're revisiting the journey of Marvel Spider-Man 2, from its announcement to its reception and everything in between. This is the low-key POV, and welcome to Marvel Spider-Man 2, the retrospective. It's September 2021. It's Sony PlayStation showcased the state of play. Millions of fans tuned in, expecting big announcements. And then, Insomniac dropped the bombshell. Spider-Man 2 was real. The trailer wasn't just a teaser, but it was a statement. Seeing Peter Parker and Miles Morales fighting side by side confirmed Insomniac was doubling down on the dual hero dynamic. And then came Venom. His chilling entrance, voiced by the legendary Tony Todd, sent shockwaves through the community. That ominous monologue, that terrifying presence, it was clear the sequel was going darker, more mature, and more ambitious. Fans immediately latched onto Venom as the centerpiece villain, speculating how his symbiote powers would reshape both gameplay and story. Speculation frenzy didn't stop there. Craven the Hunter's voiceover sparked theories about his role. Players wondered if Peter would succumb to the symbiote. Others dissected every frame of the trailer, combat animations, background details, even the lighting. Searching for clues about expanded New York boroughs, forums, podcasts, and YouTube breakdowns kept the conversation alive for months. Of course, the hype wasn't built in a vacuum. Spider-Man 2018 had already set a gold standard for superhero games, while Miles Morales proved Insomniac could deliver heartfelt storytelling alongside blockbuster action. Fans knew Insomniac had the pedigree. Expectations weren't just high, they were sky high. This wasn't just another sequel, it was a chance to cement Spider-Man as PlayStation's flagship franchise. And the community anticipation was electric. Social media exploded with reactions, memes, and countdowns. The phrase "take my money" trended as Spider-Man 2 became the most anticipated PS5 exclusive. Every drip of news, developer interviews, concept art, even rumors reignited the excitement. The hype train wasn't slowing down, it was full speed ahead. But could Spider-Man 2 deliver? October 20th, 2023, Marvel Spider-Man 2 swings onto the PlayStation 5 and the hype finally meets reality. Within just 24 hours, the game sold an incredible 2.5 million copies, the fastest selling PlayStation Studios release at the time. By April 2024, that number had skyrocketed to over 11 million copies sold, cementing Spider-Man as the PlayStation's crown jewel. Critics were quick to praise it as a technical showcase for the PS5. The reversal felt fluid and exhilarating, cinematic storytelling pulled players in, and emotional character arcs gave the game a real heart. The expanded map, such as including Queens, Brooklyn, and even Coney Island, made New York feel bigger and more alive than ever. And let's not forget instant fast travel. It wasn't just convenient, but it was a flex, showing off the raw speed of PS5's SSD. But here's the thing, the launch wasn't perfect. Players reported bugs from visual glitches to mission progression hiccups. Hardcore fans often brushed these off, insisting the game was flawless. Yet the reality was clear. Spider-Man 2 needed a few patches before it was truly stabilized. Insomniac moved fast, and within weeks most of the issues were ironed out. So, did Spider-Man 2 deliver? Absolutely. Spider-Man 2 gave us bigger stakes, darker villains, and the dream team of Peter and Miles. It wasn't flawless, but it was unforgettable, a defining release for the PlayStation 5 era. So, what do gamers love about Spider Man 2? I've narrowed it down to a couple of things based on my own personal experience with the game, as well as some research. And one of the biggest triumphs of Spider Man 2 was the dual protagonist system, which allowed players to switch seamlessly between Peter and Miles. And this wasn't just a technical feat, but it was a storytelling masterstroke. Each Spider Man had its own combat style, personality, and emotional journey. And players loved how the game reinforced the idea that Spider Man isn't just one person, but a mantle carried forward by both heroes. It gave the gameplay variety and the narrative heart. Reversal has always been the soul of Spider Man games, and Insomniac perfected it here. Swinging felt faster, smoother, and more exhilarating than ever. The addition of web wings gave players a new sense of freedom, gliding across the city with speed and style. Combine this with fluid animations and instant fast travel, New York became a playground that begged to be explored. For many fans, including myself, the reversal alone was worth the price of admission. Then combat evolved in ways that kept encounters fresh and cinematic. Peter's symbiote powers added raw aggression and brutality, while Miles' bioelectric abilities gave fights a spark of creativity. Switching between the two of them meant no two battles ever felt the same. Expanded skill trees encouraged experimentation, and the sheer spectacle of symbiote finishes or Miles' electric takedowns made combat feel like a superhero movie unfolding in real time. But what truly anchored the game was its storytelling. Emotional beats with Harry Osborn, Venom's terrifying rise, and Peter's struggle with the symbiote gave the narrative real weight. Themes of sacrifice, friendship, and legacy resonated deeply with players. It wasn't just about saving New York, it was about saving each other and confronting the darkness within. For many fans, Spider Man 2 delivered one of the most heartfelt superhero stories in gaming. And then there was the visual fidelity. Insomniac's New York wasn't just a backdrop, it was alive. Ray tracing brought reflections to life, lighting captured the mood of every scene, and neighborhoods like Queens, Brooklyn, and Coney Island were rendered with stunning authenticity. From bustling streets to quiet rooftops, the city felt like a living, breathing character in its own right. And fans couldn't stop praising how immersive it all looked and felt. Taken together, these elements showed why Spider Man 2 wasn't just another sequel. It was a refinement, an expansion, and a showcase of what Insomniac could achieve on the PlayStation 5. For many players, it wasn't just a game, it was the definitive Spider Man experience. Of course, not everything about Spider Man 2 was universally loved. For all of its strengths, the game had its fair share of criticism, and some of them hit pretty hard. Let's start with the side missions. While the main story was praised for its emotional depth, many players felt the side content was repetitive and shallow. Tasks like chasing drones, clearing enemy bases, or solving puzzles didn't carry the same weight as the core narrative. For some, it felt like busy work rather than meaningful storytelling. Then there's the villain pacing. Craven the Hunter was hyped as a major antagonist, but his arc felt rushed, overshadowed by Venom's dominance in the second half of the game. Fans argued Craven deserved more narrative weight, and his abrupt exit left many feeling shortchanged. But we'll cover this more later. Mary Jane's stealth missions were another divisive point. Some players appreciated the expanded role, but many found the sections tedious and out of place in a game built around fast, fluid superhero action. The backlash over character design only amplified the criticism, making MJ's missions one of the most polarizing aspects of the game. And while Spider Man 2 was held as a technical showcase, the launch wasn't flawless. Players reported occasional bugs, frame drops, and mission progression hiccups. Hardcore fans often denied or downplayed these issues, insisting that the game was polished, but for others, the glitches were impossible to ignore. Finally, replayability. Despite a huge roster of suits and collectibles, some players felt that the game lacked long-term engagement once the story was finished. Without robust post-game content or new game modes, many fans put the controller down after one playthrough, wishing that there was more reason to swing back into New York. Taken together, these criticisms didn't sink Spider-Man 2, but they did highlight areas where Insomniac played it safe or they missed opportunities. For a game that set out to be bigger and bolder, some fans walked away feeling that certain parts just didn't live up to the promise. For all of Spider-Man 2's triumphs, there were areas where Insomniac stumbled, places where the game didn't quite live up to the potential. Now let's talk about the villain pacing again, and specifically Kraven the Hunter. On paper, Kraven had everything it took to be the star antagonist. His presence was magnetic. Every time he appeared on screen, his sheer intensity demanded respect. He was ruthless, calculating, and carried himself like a predator at the top of the food chain. But the problem? He was never given the proper opportunity to steal the show. Instead, Kraven's arc felt rushed. He was introduced with menace, but before players could fully appreciate his role, Venom stepped into the spotlight and swallowed the narrative whole. Once Venom arrived, Kraven slipped into the shadows, reduced to a stepping stone rather than the ultimate threat. And that's frustrating, because in the comics, Kraven has proven himself against Venom before. In fact, Kraven once defeated Venom, showing that he's more than capable of standing toe-to-toe with Marvel's deadliest villains. Imagine if Insomniac had leaned into that history, giving us a true Clash of Titans where Kraven could rival Venom instead of being consumed by him. Because when Venom faced off against Kraven, Kraven knew that he was going to die. He went into that battle prepared to die, and not into the battle with the thought that he could defeat Venom. Critics echoed the sentiment. Kotaku noted that Kraven felt like a blank slate, barely interacting with the main cast before being killed off, leaving fans frustrated that such a powerful presence was wasted. On the other side, some fans on Reddit argued Kraven was perfect, pointing out that he wiped out multiple villains and nearly broke Peter. But even those defenders admit that his end was anticlimactic. His head literally chomped off by Venom, erasing any chance of a legendary send-off. The truth is, Kraven could have been the centerpiece antagonist players knew he could be. His hunt for worthy prey, his brutal combat style, his psychological warfare, all the ingredients were there, but in Spider-Man 2, he was never allowed to truly shine. Instead, Venom stole the spotlight, leaving Kraven as a reminder of what might have been. Now coming back to the side missions, while they were polished, they often felt repetitive and lacked the emotional depth of the main campaign. Players found themselves chasing drones, clearing bases or solving puzzles that didn't carry the same narrative weight compared to the heartfelt side stories in Miles Morales. Spider-Man 2's optional content felt more like filler than a meaningful expansion. Another criticism was the risk aversion. Insomniac refined the formula but didn't radically innovate. Some critics argued that the game played it safe compared to the boldness of Miles Morales, which experimented with tone, pacing, and emotional storytelling. Spider-Man 2 felt more like a refinement than a reinvention, solid but not groundbreaking. Then back to replayability, this is also a sticking point. Despite a huge roster of suits and collectibles like I previously said, many players felt the game lacked meaningful post-story engagement. Once the credits rolled, there wasn't much incentive to keep swinging through New York City beyond completionist goals. And unlike Spider-Man 2018, which received expansions like The City That Never Sleeps, Insomniac had no plans for DLC or story expansions here. That decision left fans disappointed as they expected more content to extend the game's lifespan. Then Mary Jane's updated look sparked heated debate online. Some fans criticized the facial redesign, arguing it felt more inconsistent with the portrayal in the first game. Others again felt her stealth missions didn't justify her expanded role, making those sections divisive. This backlash highlighted a broader issue. Insomniac's attempt to balance realism and artistic direction sometimes clashed with fans' expectations. And then there were the dialogue choices. While Spider-Man 2 has always been known for quips and humor, many players felt that Spider-Man 2 crossed the line into cringe, with awkward one-liners, forced jokes, and tonal inconsistencies that broke immersion during key moments. Critics pointed out that the writing sometimes undercut the emotional weight of the story, dropping the ball where sharper, more mature dialogue could have elevated the narrative. For a game praised for its cinematic ambition, these missteps stood out even more. Taken together, these issues didn't ruin Spider-Man 2, don't get me wrong, but they did remind players that Insomniac isn't immune to missteps. The side content, risk aversions, replayability concerns, the divisive character design, and clunky dialogue all showed that while the game soared in many areas, it stumbled in others. Marvel Spider-Man 2 was both a triumph and a missed opportunity. On one hand, it gave us unforgettable moments, swinging through a living, breathing New York, battling Venom in cinematic fashion, and watching Peter and Miles grow into the dual mantle of Spider-Man. On the other hand, it showed the challenges of balancing fan expectations with innovation. Side content felt safe, villains weren't always given their due, and dialogue sometimes stumbled where sharper writing could have elevated the story. Yet, despite its flaws, Spider-Man 2 remains a landmark in superhero gaming. It proved that Insomniac can deliver blockbuster spectacle while still weaving in emotional storytelling. It cemented Spider-Man as PlayStation's crown jewel franchise, and it reminded us that even heroes stumble, but they always get back up. And now, with Insomniac's Wolverine on the horizon, Spider-Man 2 stands as both a lesson and a legacy, proof of what's possible and a challenge to go even further. But that's just my take. What did you love about Spider-Man 2? Did Venom steal the show for you, or did Craven deserve more? Were the traversal upgrades enough, or did the side missions hold the game back? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your perspective. And don't forget to subscribe for more retrospectives, gaming discussions, and first impressions, where we deep dive into games that defined a generation. Until next time, happy gaming. Peace.